And hello, Australia, for the second time in a row in the last 5 minutes due to technical glitches, being me, between the keyboard and the monitor. My name is Franco. Joining me is Jason. How are you, Jason?
I'm fantastic, thanks. This is brilliant. It's lovely Scottish weather.
Well, it's a bit more
The
balmy
rain is
than.
coming straight down, only slightly to the side, like.
Yes, we had a little bit of a technical glitch trying to figure out if we're streaming. I'm even now trying to figure out if we're streaming.
Well, let's see if I can help you with that.
Yes, we are streaming. Finally, I can verify that. We were talking about Axis and Allies, a
Allies,
40-year-old game for
so that's
nerds.
the reason Dean's not with us today.
Hmm.
Is because he's obviously purchased this game, which is I think he's going through some kind of nostalgia trip because the last time I played it was probably in high school, which is probably the last time he played it as well. If he
Indeed.
played it back then.
Well, and he also spun up a Dungeons and Dragons campaign. So
Yeah, actually, he's having a big nostalgia kick, isn't he?
indeed, and we did have a campaign run last week, which was
Yeah, I heard about
fantastic.
that, and I'm really sad I missed it now.
Yes, you missed the introduction of the Gallagher brothers as a part of the theme for the day.
So what's the characters? He's naming the non-player characters after what? Is there any theme to who he's naming them after, or
British indie pop.
British indie pop?
Yeah, so we've had David Albarn's, we've had the Gallagher brothers.
Who's next?
Mm.
Will it be Rick Astley?
So in the world of culture, because I'm sure we've just bored the pants off anyone who may be listening with talk of nerd games.
Well, maybe not the other three people who are in our Dungeons and Dragons party, if they were listening, which they probably aren't. So,
do you have any culture shade to throw?
okay, I haven't really been engaging in terribly much this week, but I did catch the latest incarnation of Lost in Space.
Oh, is it good?
Well, the jury's still out. I've watched 2 episodes, right? I've watched 2 episodes, and it's interesting. I mean, I don't know how iconic it is from your childhood, Lost in Space. Is that something you watched?
I watched. I didn't like it, but I watched enough of it because it was.
Well, you know that I think I have a kind of sympathy there. It's iconic. I'm not sure how much I liked it and how much was a factor of it being the only thing on.
Exactly. There was limited choice back in those days, so
I think that was back when we were still a three-channel
indeed.
a three-channel city. We had the ABC, Channel 7, and Channel 9.
Yes.
And basically, that was the one science fiction channel show they had on at a children's sort of time
Yes.
frame and that. Anyway, so I remember watching the hell out of it, and it's kind of cool seeing the reboot of it, and they've done some stuff very right, but then just some other parts just seem a little bit. Well, at some point, a little bit darker actually, which isn't bad.
Right.
Like Dr. Smith is a flat-out serial killer.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
See, I won't be bringing too much baggage into watching that show because for me, as I said, I didn't like it particularly much. I mean, I watched a hell of a lot of it, but I wasn't invested in it as I would have been with some other shows that were on at the time. So
Yeah.
I could take it or leave it what they drew upon the original
Well, yeah,
show.
it's not breaking my heart to see it messed with. That's for sure.
Yeah.
It did do one particularly interesting thing. So it's obviously building it in a serialized form and building it with much more of an ongoing story arc, whereas the original Lost in Space was very much episodic, maybe with a couple of episodes to a theme and stuff like that.
Mm. Oh, okay.
But they did do one interesting bit where one of the children have a near-death experience in the first episode.
Right.
A proper near-death experience, and she had a long time to think about it. Blah blah blah, and she's going through some proper PTSD. Like, and I thought, yep, that's actually pretty good. Like, they got Dr. Smith's a flat-out serial killer, and things have consequences. It's not just a serialized thing where someone gets out of a narrow scrape and you never have to talk about it again.
So Dr. Smith doesn't, or Dr. Zachary Smith doesn't have some of those
Actually,
weird traits that he was.
Zachary Smith, because it's a woman in this one.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Or is that just because that's the identity she stole? That's the identity she stole off a guy on the. So that's not her actual name.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then you get that in the first early thing, like first part of the episode kind of thing, first episode. So that was an interesting departure. I think that's got some of the neckbeards frothing. you know the type.
I do know the type. Does Dr. Smith have a unconventional relationship with a robot? Hello? Oh, did you drop off?
Back. I think I accidentally hit the wrong button.
Yeah, I was just asking, does Dr. Zachary Smith have an unconventional relationship with a robot?
There is some relationship there. You don't know what it is at first, but the only one with a real relationship with the robot is Will Robinson at the moment.
Right, okay.
Who, in a classic, was it Daniel pulling the thorn out of the lion's paw situation? He made a friend with an incredibly aggressive robot by helping it.
Okay.
So, yeah, there's some sort of cheesy, schmaltzy stuff involved which doesn't quite fit with the rest of the theme a little bit.
Okay.
But it's not bad. It's not bad. I'm probably going to give it another episode at least. But if it doesn't do something to really ramp it up, I don't know.
It's hard because there's slim pickings in the sci-fi genre at the moment on Netflix. So
yeah, well, apparently The Expanse has started coming out, but it's not on Netflix anymore.
Oh, isn't it?
No, Sci-Fi are releasing it themselves, and unless I'll have to check back because I heard the first episode was out.
There is a need for
Sorry.
First episode was out, but it's certainly not available on Netflix yet, and I think it might be on Sci-Fi or something like that.
Right. Okay. Boo.
Anyway, that's the one I'm really waiting for.
Well, I started watching a documentary series called Wild Country.
Yeah.
About the Rajneeshi Orange people.
Oh no, I heard about this on something else. Was it probably one of our common podcasts we listened to where they were talking about it?
Oh, okay. And yeah, it's been pretty good so far. So.
What's it called?
I was just trying to look it up then, but then it started playing a video.
It's got a name because I remember when it was like someone mentioned this documentary, and then they were describing what it was about, and I was going, "Oh, that's the Orange people."
Yeah.
But so it had a name that had nothing to do with.
Well, they're focusing on a specific angle. Let's see. It's called Wild Wild Country.
That's right. Yeah.
And they focus on how the Rajneesh tried to set up a city in the backwaters of Oklahoma or Ohio. I can't remember, Oklahoma or Ohio. And how it all sort of spiraled out of control and they sort of clashed with the local populace. So, and it's an interesting style of documentary making. They pretty much let the main protagonists from both sides just speak their piece. So there's no narrator, there's no documentarian, posing questions or challenging. So,
the only way they're leading you is through editorial choice, kind of thing.
Yeah. So basically, it's what went down through the perception of the participants. So you wouldn't necessarily watch it if you want to see what the truth is necessarily, but from their viewpoints, how they see the world as it went down at the time. So that's interesting in regard. And I think so far, if you remember, her name was Marshina or something like that. Or Sheila?
Sheila?
Yes.
Is she in it? Oh, that's
she is.
One of the reasons I was thinking about watching it.
And she's looking quite sympathetic. And
is she really?
Yeah. So, and I don't think that's necessarily the case from what little back reading I did on that. So.
Well, not just the back reading. It's just that's the one thing Perth has an actual memory of was when the Orange people came to town, right?
Yes.
And that's fairly vivid in anyone who was growing up in that, because our newspapers and our local news just went nuts with this stuff.
Yes, especially I'm trying to remember what her name was, because she was a very Sheila. She was a very strong leader of the. Well, she was the right hand man to the Bhagwan.
Yeah, and she was pretty plain spoken.
Yes, her famous quote was "tough titties."
Now only endears her to me, really, right?
Yeah, I didn't really. It never occurred to me to think what ever happened to her post all that what went down in Oklahoma.
Buy up a big chunk down near Pemberton.
Yeah.
And I think they did manage to buy it or something, but I don't know. The locals really kicked up about it.
Yeah. Yes, people were a bit
Well, that's something I have to read back into. I'll have to check this. Is there any mention at all of the local angle in this
No,
documentary?
it's
It was just about them taking over Oklahoma,
yes.
which certainly matches their modus operandi down here.
And what I didn't know was they came up against, and maybe this was just unfortunate circumstance for the Rajneesh peoples, that they happened to lock horns with one of the co-founders of Nike. So obviously this individual had lots of cash to go to war with the Rajneesh. I mean, they weren't short of cash either. So, but I mean, they may have gotten away with a lot more had they not come up against that particular individual.
Yeah. I still, it was always that whole the orange people thing was a real enigma to me. Actually, I wouldn't mind checking this out because those things, those organizations fascinate me as to what the hell sucks people into them.
Yes.
Like it's the same with say Scientology or something like that.
Yes.
What is it that sucks people in initially, and then what keeps them there? It's just crazy.
Well, I was I wanted to try
Totally outside my experience.
I wanted to find out how they made their money. You know, because this guy had 90 Rolls Royces. So
Yeah.
and I'm going to have to do a bit more. Oh, here we go. Her name was Ma Anand Sheila, and she was the secretary to the Rajneesh.
Oh.
So this show doesn't go into some of the specifics that you might want to know about. So I was particularly interested in how they finance themselves because they had a lot of cash to spend.
They always, yeah, they never seem to have a problem. And I just assumed it was like pooled resources from all their members or something. 'Cause it sounded like they just ripped them off.
They may well have.
But,
Sorry,
but
it was.
I don't think that wouldn't get you enough money to wield the kind of power they were doing. They were wielding.
And sorry, the place was Oregon, not Oklahoma, but Oregon. So you know that they had some interesting ideas about mental health and sexual liberation. So it's interesting. The people they're interviewing didn't seem like they felt like they were in a cult or anything like that. It was just trying to establish a different way of life. So yeah, it's a very sympathetic presentation of what the Rajneesh people were up to. The people from the town in Oregon, in particular, where they set up this, are not looking very sympathetic. Are looking quite, simple and backward, and parochial yokels. But what they don't cover also is much about the Rajneesh, the Bhagwan, about what his personal peccadillos were, other than he liked going around in Rolls Royce. But they don't really say much about him as an individual. So they keep him very much as an ethereal character.
Yeah, you could say the only thing I remember about Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh was the fact that he did own 70 odd Rolls Royces. That's the one fact I know about him.
Yeah, and I did a Google search about his personal life because was he married? Did he have concubines and whatnot? And could not find anything about that.
He's been scrubbed. It's a conspiracy, Franco.
It may well be. So I mean, particularly when someone's proclaiming sexual liberty, you think, they'd probably be indulging in themselves, but there's no commentary on it that I've been able to find so far. So I was quite interested.
You went for the usual thing. Well, if they're, yeah, of course they would be indulging.
Yeah. So far I've been enjoying it in terms of not in terms of a fact-seeking documentary, but seeing it from the viewpoint of the individuals involved on both sides.
Fair enough. I will try and check that one out, actually.
Yeah, it's quite well done. But that's I've been working flat sticks. So I don't really have much to contribute on the culture side of things. So we move into the newsies.
Yeah, sure.
Which
I don't really have much in that way either.
The only thing I've got really to speak about is what I've been catching is the tidbits on the coalition, well, particularly Liberal federal MPs squirming over the Royal Banking Commission and how they've been pressured, or Bill's gone the offensive to try and get an apology out of the Prime Minister for delaying and being quite obstinate. And so what I'm going to do is play just a little clip which sort of encompasses the whole attitude of the party. It's from Kelly O'Dwyer. Now, I don't know. Do you know who she is? Is she just a spokesperson for the coalition?
The name comes up a lot. I actually couldn't say her position though, no.
Oh, hi, here we go. Financial Services Minister Kelly O'Dwyer. That's who she is. So let me play this for you, and we'll comment on it.
Well,
Were you
I have
wrong
answered
to
your question.
delay it for as long as you did?
Well, look, Barrett, I've answered your question.
No, you haven't.
I
You
have
haven't
answered
said
your
whether
question.
you were wrong
I've said
or
we've
right
established
to
it.
delay it.
We have, in fact, established
You have
it.
established
Well,
it, but
well,
it took
let
a
me
long
put it
time
to you-
coming. Were you wrong?
Well, let me put it to you this way. We would not have done all those other things that we have otherwise done to address these
All right,
actions.
let me put it another way then, because clearly I'm not getting a direct answer on that. You said that the Royal Commission at one statement, Labor suggested it was reckless and ill-conceived. Were you right or wrong about that?
Well, Barry, you can obsess and Labor can obsess about these issues. I'm actually obsessed about fixing the problems,
All right.
and that's what
You
I
said
have
it
been
was very
focused on
dangerous. Were you
as a
right
minister.
or wrong
Now,
when you said it was very dangerous?
yeah, well, we also have to have, as a government, a very sober view, not only on the issues around corruption and misconduct, but also around financial stability.
Were you right
Well,
or wrong?
Barry, I'm trying to actually answer your question, and that is the financial services sector accounts for about 10% of our economy. You can't rush into these things as a stunt.
So, rather than just say, yeah, well, we probably should have done it sooner, double down, refusing to answer the question, trying to do that. So that trick only works if the question is, not subjective, but not as clear or concise.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, you can't, when someone asks you, is the sky blue, you can't start going, well, what I want to address is, the contrast between the ground and the sky. It's either it's blue or not.
Look at it this way, Franco. If only you could see it from my perspective. And this is incredibly embarrassing, and I don't want to admit that.
Yeah.
Hey, just another technical hitch. I'm getting my voice feeding back to me.
Oh, are you? Still?
No, actually. Did you? Oh. You must have switched off whatever you had going, yeah.
I wonder if that was just the video when it was playing, picking extra stuff up.
Yep. Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? But it's not exactly unseen in politics to have people running around like this. I mean, Jesus, I think Tony Abbott was one of the best at avoiding answering a question, wasn't he, as well?
Well,
and he'd say even less of substance.
Well, the interesting thing is the Coalition Party went balls deep on the Union Royal Commission.
That's
had
right, yeah.
Had a wide scope for the investigation, so forth.
And as it turns out, the unions are probably less corrupt than most other institutions.
Well, in the end they found very little after a lot prolonged digging process.
Yeah.
Now they've been forced into setting up a banking royal commission with very limited scope, and look what's come out of it. They've barely had to try.
From the incredibly limited scope that they have.
I mean, you've been seeing newspaper articles about I think it's the CEO of the AMP had to step down. Was it the CEO?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, from some of the misbehaviour that's been going on. So, yeah.
AMP?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, those dodgy buggers. I remember getting a phone call from them, and this is the only phone call I've ever had, proactive phone call I had, was from them seeking to grab my super.
Oh, that's nice of them.
Yeah, it's like they wanted to, do you want to put all your super in with us? I've never had a proactive phone call from anyone about super before until they did that. It's really odd.
Yeah, so I'm seeing here AMP boss Craig Mellor steps down.
Wow.
Yeah, so apparently, after scandals revealed by the Banking Royal Commission.
I'm glad I didn't put my stuff with them then.
So yeah, I mean, the coalition are looking pretty silly now after trying to push back for so long against the Banking Royal Commission, which even the most simplest person in Australia knew the banks were up to no good. They might not have been able to put their finger on a specific aspect, but sure enough, they believed that a Royal Commission would find something pretty easily.
And it's the most believable thing for them to come out and say, hey, guess what? All those fees that you thought can't possibly be legal, turns out they're not. And everyone's had that experience. They go, what the fuck are all these fees coming out?
Yeah.
Where's this stuff coming from? Yeah. Turns out, you know what? You're probably on a debt account or something. They were charging, Commonwealth Bank were charging interest or charging fees on an account from someone who'd been dead for nearly a decade.
Yes, I did say something about that. Yeah, there's a whole heap of things that are coming out. I mean, Commonwealth Bank have had to come out and apologise. It's crazy. And I mean, the Banking Royal Commission's barely started, and this sort of thing's coming out of the woodwork.
And these seem like, I mean, pretty small crime. I mean, you can imagine what they are still getting away with.
Oh, God knows, yeah. You can understand why the the banking industry were fighting so hard not to have a Royal Commission.
Yeah,
Because they know what's going on.
they've had it too good for too long.
Yeah.
I'm getting that feedback.
Well, are you?
Yeah,
Still?
it's really odd.
What if I do this? Does that stop the feedback? And well,
seems fine.
that's no good because then I can't hear what you're saying.
Yeah. Okay. We might have to talk technical later because I think are you using voice activated on your mic?
I don't know what that means.
Okay. We'll talk about it later.
Okay. What was I saying? Yeah, so that's the only real big thing that sort of captured my attention, other than reading Donald Trump's tweets. I love the petulant tones of a 9-year-old who's a president.
Just a little bit of news from America with the Comey memos came out.
Yeah.
And just some interesting little facts came out. Like, it turns out even before Comey and Trump were at odds, he wrote these memos before he was fired, before he was being talked about being fired and all this kind of thing. And on 3 separate occasions, Trump, of his own accord, brought up the whole Russian prostitutes and the P-tape situation because he wanted Comey to go out there and really sort this out. He said, quoting the reason that he couldn't possibly want Melania to think that anything untoward was going on. Yeah, it's crazy.
Oh, did you see the Playboy model made an agreement with the publication that owns the National Enquirer, so she can now go out and tell her story?
Oh, really?
Yes. So now she can tell her story about the infidelity that Donald Trump had with her. And obviously the case is still progressing with Stormy Daniels.
You know what? It's becoming more and more plausible, right? That the theory that Sam Cedar has is true. That Trump is only concerned about all this because there's some clause in their prenup agreement.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Which means he'll lose a bucket of cash in the settlement if he's been if there's infidelity or something like that.
Because his base don't care.
Yeah, no, they don't care, and he doesn't care. No. He doesn't care who knows.
No.
Except for Melania, there's one person he cares that knows.
and by this stage, I'm curious as to what constitutes proof, because that's obviously, if it is to do with a prenup, there must be some element of what constitutes proof, and so.
And he's there originally when it was coming out. He's going, "Don't worry, Melania, I got the FBI on it. I'll sort this out."
He's a grotesque man, but it's funny how out of all his dealings, it's what he does in his personal life that he's getting tripped up on, as opposed to, not paying contractors on his building sites or ripping people off of his fake university.
That's because when I think there was a book, there's an author who wrote a book, and I heard the interview with it, and they were talking about how it was actually a guy who'd been following the Trump campaign around and everything, and when they won the election, he said everyone was in their camp was in shock because none of them expected to win either. Yeah. And more importantly, none of them even really wanted to win because the kind of activities they'd been up to just do not stand the light of day kind of thing. Yeah. You don't want too much of a spotlight on it. And that's exactly what's happened here, because everyone and everyone that Trump's been associated with has suddenly been elevated to put under the spotlight. And everything's coming undone. I mean, do you think for a second his lawyer who just got raided, he wouldn't flip on Trump in a fucking heartbeat if he had to?
Well, if he was facing serious jail time, definitely.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't think he's going to go to jail for Trump unless he and Trump have some sort of gentleman's agreement that he's going to get a presidential pardon.
Well, and then of course that lawyer may be stupid enough to know not to know that you can't get a presidential pardon for a state sentence or something like that.
So it was pretty exciting when Michael Cohen got his offices raided. So we're all hoping something would develop from that. Unfortunately, at the moment, the files are sealed at the moment, so they can't look at it yet while it's going through court to see how that will be handled, because obviously there is
Some information that was unsealed was that this lawyer Cohen only had 3 customers.
yes, 3 clients. One was another Republican donor stooge, and the other was Sean Hannity,
Yeah.
an American right-wing talking host on, I think, Fox News.
Yeah.
It was interesting listening to him defend his relationship with Michael Cohen. Not defend, trying to excuse, trying to say, "Oh, I just went to him for some guidance."
Real estate.
You know,
Real estate advice.
yeah. So yeah, not seeing what a conflict of interest might
It
be.
is like, I don't think. I mean, it's funny that just about the only news I keep up with is a little bit of this Trump stuff these days, and that's simply because it's just changing at such a rate. Like, the situation is constantly developing, and you hear like some of the podcasts we listen to in any American news organization. It's almost like they're just fatigued.
Yeah.
They cannot keep up with the amount of news that's coming out of a Trump administration.
Yeah, and so meanwhile, while he's doing stupid stuff, a lot of bad stuff is happening in the background, which doesn't get the coverage. Like I was flabbergasted by I don't know if it's it must have been the Senate rolled back one of the consumer protection rulings about not allowing car dealerships to charge extra interest to minorities.
Yeah,
and like,
isn't it crazy? It's just stuff that's it's supposedly they're just getting more blatant about it now.
Well, they use some sort of little sneaky trick to be able to review the legislation. So basically, this particular, I forget the name, what they call it. It's not a ruling, but like a finding or something. And that allows for tort lawyers to go and use that for when they go to court. And this was done quite some time ago, and normally there's a way that it can be reviewed within 60 days of put forward. But they found a loophole to get around that because it's been longer than 60 days. But I was trying to find the Republicans' justification of why would you roll back to something that protects minorities? And basically, from their point of view, it's just about, we're just rolling back regulations.
Regulations. Unnecessary regulations. Yeah. The same argument they made when they rolled back voters' rights in a state. It's unnecessary regulations, or depending on the situation, they decide to add in some regulations like photo ID requirements.
It's shocking. And like when there was so much proof that this is what the car dealers were doing, and no, don't need it. It's an unnecessary overhead.
Easy to understand when you make the understanding that nothing is attached to any particular ideology for them.
Yeah. Lobbyists from the car dealerships are pushing for this. Well, we can help them out.
Yeah.
And the problem is when they roll back these things, you're never allowed to bring it back again.
No.
By this particular mechanism. So that was quite sad. Other than that, I haven't really been keeping up with much. No,
I'm pretty much the same way.
Well,
I have been vaguely laid up because I had my second bike accident in, I don't know, a month.
Oh dear, what happened this time?
Well, this time it wasn't my fault. This time a car actually cut me off at an intersection and I actually slammed on the skids to stop the bike.
Yeah.
Didn't hit the car at least, but then went over the top of the fucking...
Again?
top of the handlebars.
Oh no. Was there another utility tray to break your fall?
No, not this time.
Ooh.
As I said, this was... Yeah. Anyway, so I've been laid up with a busted hand for the last 4 days. Basically.
Ooh, broken?
No, I thought it might be and went in and got the x-rays and it's not broken. It seems like I've wrecked every ligament in there for the moment.
Ooh. Ouch. And given a good, decent amount of gravel rash burn?
Yeah, I got that on the elbow.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was nasty.
All right, mate. Well,
okay, man.
Let me roll up the show and stay on the line. And I'll interrogate you more about this. Thank you for listening to the show. I have been Franco.
I've been Jason.
Catch you later.